The wetlands never truly rest. Even in the quietest moments, something is always feeding on something else. Beneath the still water, inside the tangled reeds, and under every patch of floating algae, survival comes at a price. For one capybara, that price has become almost unbearable. Its thick brown coat is no longer just fur. It has become a living shelter for thousands of hungry ticks. They cling to every part of its body, buried deep between the coarse hairs, feeding without mercy. Every step feels heavier than the last. Every movement brings another wave of irritation. The giant rodent pauses again and again, lifting a hind leg to scratch at places it can barely reach, but the relief lasts only seconds before the torment returns. The swamp offers plenty of food and water, yet today it feels more like a prison than a home. The capybara slowly wades through the murky shallows, its body coated with droplets and strands of green algae drifting across the surface. It tries to ignore the constant biting, but the parasites refuse to let it rest. They drain its strength little by little, turning an ordinary day into an exhausting struggle. Not far away, two silent figures watch everything unfold. Perched on a fallen cypress log, a pair of crested caracaras stand perfectly still. Their sharp eyes follow every movement below. They have noticed the desperate scratching, the restless pacing, and the unusual behavior of the massive rodent. For now, they simply wait. The capybara has no idea that its greatest chance of relief is already watching from above. And within moments, an unexpected meeting between bird and beast will transform unbearable suffering into one of nature's most remarkable partnerships. The itching refuses to stop. No matter how many times the capybara scratches, thousands of tiny mouths remain locked onto its skin. The irritation spreads across its back, its sides, and every place its hind legs cannot reach. Standing still is impossible. Walking brings no relief. Every moment feels just as miserable as the one before. Then, without hesitation, it changes its approach. The capybara lowers its heavy body into the shallow swamp until only part of its back remains above the surface. Thick, muddy water surrounds it as it begins to roll from side to side. Dark mud coats its fur, covering the places where the parasites have gathered in overwhelming numbers. Again and again, it twists through the soft bottom, almost frantically, as if hoping the mud will smother the tiny invaders or calm the burning sensation beneath its coat. For a brief moment, it seems worth trying. But when the capybara rises from the water, nothing has truly changed. The thick blanket of ticks still clings stubbornly to its fur. The burden remains exactly where it was before. The desperate attempt has failed. The splashing has not gone unnoticed. From the fallen cypress log, the two crested caracaras lean forward with growing curiosity. Every movement below has captured their attention. Their sharp eyes remain fixed on the struggling mammal as they quietly observe its unsuccessful battle against the parasites. Still searching for relief, the exhausted capybara climbs out of the shallow water. Mud drips from its soaked coat as it slowly makes its way toward a towering tree nearby. Perhaps the rough bark can accomplish what the mud could not. Behind it, the two birds continue watching in complete silence, waiting for whatever happens next. The towering tree has weathered countless seasons in the swamp. Its bark is rough, deeply cracked, and hard enough to scrape almost anything that presses against it. For the exhausted capybara, it offers one more chance to fight back against the relentless parasites. It steps closer until its broad shoulder touches the trunk. Then it begins to push. Slowly at first, its heavy body slides along the coarse bark. The capybara leans harder, shifting its weight from one side to the other as the rough surface drags across its thick coat. It rubs its neck, its back, and its flanks with quiet determination, using the ancient tree as nothing more than a giant scratching post. Every movement is driven by the same desperate hope. Maybe this time the ticks will finally loosen their grip. But once again, the effort changes almost nothing. The parasites remain buried within the dense fur, refusing to let go. The constant irritation still follows every movement. The capybara pauses beside the tree, breathing calmly but showing no sign that the burden has become any lighter. High above the waterline, the silent observers have reached their decision. With a steady sweep of broad wings, one of the crested caracaras leaves the fallen cypress log. Instead of circling overhead, it glides directly toward the struggling mammal, landing carefully at the edge of the shallow water. It does not rush. Every step is slow and deliberate. The bird studies the capybara from only a short distance away, watching for any sudden reaction before moving closer. What lies before it is more than another animal. It is an opportunity unlike any other. After a few cautious steps, the caracara makes its move. It hops lightly onto the capybara's broad back. Only moments later, the second bird follows, joining its partner. Without a sound, an extraordinary partnership quietly begins. The capybara does not flinch. Instead of bolting away, it remains exactly where it is, standing quietly in the shallow water as the unfamiliar weight settles across its back. For a brief moment, both animals seem to study each other in complete silence. The first caracara lowers its head. Its sharp beak moves slowly through the coarse fur, searching with remarkable precision. Then, with one quick motion, it plucks out a swollen tick. Another follows, then another. The second bird wastes no time joining the effort. Standing a short distance away on the capybara's broad back, it begins inspecting a different patch of fur, carefully working through the thick coat one parasite at a time. The capybara finally understands. These birds are not interested in attacking. They have come for something else entirely. Almost immediately, its posture changes. The tension that filled its body begins to fade. Instead of remaining alert, the giant rodent slowly lowers its head toward the cool water below. Its muscles relax. The fear of being touched disappears, replaced by something it has not felt for a long time. Relief. Trust grows with every careful movement of the bird's beaks. The capybara stands perfectly still, offering no resistance as the caracaras continue their patient work. It knows that even the slightest movement could interrupt the process, so it simply waits, allowing the birds to reach places it could never scratch on its own. For the caracaras, the reward is immediate. There is no chase, no struggle, no need to search through the marsh for food. Every tick they remove becomes an effortless meal, rich with nourishment and waiting only a few inches beneath their feet. In return, the capybara receives something far more valuable than a meal. With every parasite that disappears, the burden it has carried across the swamp grows just a little lighter. And the remarkable exchange has only just begun. Time seems to slow in the quiet swamp. The frantic scratching is gone. The splashing has stopped. Only the gentle sound of rippling water and the soft rustle of feathers disturb the stillness as the two caracaras continue their careful work. The capybara remains exactly where it is. Half submerged among the floating duckweed, it has become a willing host, showing complete confidence in the birds standing on its back. There is no hesitation now, no nervous glance, no sudden movement. It simply waits, allowing the cleaning to continue uninterrupted. The caracaras move methodically across the broad body beneath them. They inspect every section of the thick coat with remarkable patience. Whenever one bird removes a swollen tick, it immediately begins searching for another. Its partner works just as carefully nearby, making sure no area is overlooked. Together, they comb through the capybara's fur, one small section at a time. The change is gradual, but impossible to miss. The heavy armor of parasites that once covered the capybara's body is slowly disappearing. One by one, the engorged ticks are lifted away by the bird's sharp beaks. With every successful pick, another source of constant irritation is gone. The capybara leans gently into the process. Its eyes grow heavy, almost closing as the discomfort that has followed it through the swamp begins to fade. What started as a day filled with endless frustration has become a rare moment of peace. The birds never rush. There is no competition between them. Each simply continues searching, removing, and feeding with quiet efficiency while balancing comfortably on the giant rodent's back. Little by little, the burden that had drained the capybara's strength is being dismantled. The swamp remains calm around them, as if nature itself has paused to watch this unlikely partnership quietly restore what endless scratching and rolling in the mud never could. The work continues with quiet determination. Neither bird shows any sign of hurrying. They move across the capybara's broad back with calm precision, pausing only long enough to locate the next swollen tick hidden beneath the coarse fur. Every careful movement brings another parasite to an end, and another small measure of relief to the patient animal beneath them. The capybara hardly moves. It stands confidently in the shallow water, supporting the weight of its feathered attendants without the slightest sign of discomfort. Only a short time ago, the swamp had echoed with splashing and desperate attempts to escape the endless irritation. Now, that struggle feels far away. The thick layer of parasites that once covered its body continues to disappear piece by piece. Each tick removed makes the capybara lighter. Each careful inspection restores a little more of the strength that had slowly been drained away. The birds seem determined to leave nothing unfinished. They continue searching through the dense coat with remarkable patience, checking one area before moving to the next. Their sharp beaks never strike at random. Every movement is deliberate, every step part of the same careful routine. For the capybara, there is nothing left to do except remain still. The trust between bird and mammal is now complete. A creature that could have fled at the first touch instead allows two birds with powerful beaks to walk freely across its most vulnerable places. Neither side wastes the opportunity. Eventually, the pace begins to slow. The number of ticks grows smaller. The birds spend longer searching between each successful find, a quiet sign that their work is finally nearing its end. The swamp remains peaceful as both species continue their shared task, each receiving exactly what it needs from the other. Soon, the partnership that began with desperation will reach its quiet conclusion. At last, the birds begin to slow their work. The easy feast that had covered the capybara's body is no longer there. After one final search through its thick coat, the two crested caracaras pause, lifting their heads to scan the quiet marsh around them. Their hunger has been satisfied, and the task that brought them here is complete. One after the other, they step lightly down from the capybara's back. The giant rodent remains still for another moment, almost as if allowing the silence to settle before moving again. Then, with calm confidence, it takes its first steps away from the shallow pool. The difference is immediately noticeable. Its movements are steadier. Its heavy body no longer seems weighed down by constant irritation. Instead of stopping every few steps to scratch, it walks forward without hesitation, pushing through the water with renewed purpose. Leaving the stagnant shallows behind, the capybara climbs over a submerged log that lies across its path. It plants each foot firmly, pulling its broad body onto the muddy bank before continuing toward the forest floor. For the first time in what feels like an endless struggle, nothing interrupts its progress. No frantic scratching, no desperate rolling in the mud, no futile attempt to scrape against rough bark. Only quiet, unhurried steps. A short distance away, the capybara lowers itself onto the damp ground to rest. The exhausting battle against thousands of tiny parasites is finally over, and the peaceful stillness of the swamp feels completely different now. Nearby, the two caracaras have not flown away. Instead, they remain close, lingering on the moist earth, as though their unusual encounter has not quite reached its end. One final moment still waits between bird and beast. One of the crested caracaras slowly walks forward. There is no urgency in its movements now. The hunt is over, the meal has ended, and the swamp has returned to its familiar calm. The bird approaches until it stands face to face with the giant rodent that only moments ago had carried it across the water. Gently, it leans toward the capybara's snout. For an instant, the two animals remain perfectly still. It is almost as if the bird is making one final inspection, quietly checking that its work is finished before moving on. The capybara does not pull away. It calmly accepts the close presence of its unlikely companion, showing the same trust that allowed the partnership to begin. Around them, the ancient wetland falls silent once again. The water barely ripples. The trees cast long shadows across the muddy ground. What started as a day of relentless discomfort has ended in quiet relief. Neither animal owes the other anything beyond this moment, yet each has gained exactly what it needed. The birds found an effortless meal. The capybara escaped a burden it could not overcome alone. Soon, each will continue its own journey through the swamp. But for one brief encounter, bird and beast were connected by the simple realities of survival. In a world where every day brings new challenges, even the most unexpected partnership can make all the difference.